Hi everyone, Rabbi Abram here, and I gave this sermon on May 21st. This week's portion has a lot going on as the longest portion in the Torah. One of its most curious components is the rules involving a Nazirite. Number 6 lists the requirements for a person who wishes to become a Nazirite, and it goes like this. And Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelites and say this to them. When either man or woman shall clearly utter a vow, a Nazirite vow, to consecrate himself or herself to Adonai, they shall abstain from wine and strong drink. Neither shall they drink any liquor or grapes, nor eat fresh grapes or dry. And throughout their term as a Nazirite, they shall eat nothing that has been made of the grapevine, from the pressed grape even to the grape stone. And throughout their term as a Nazirite, they shall not cut their hair, until the term is fulfilled, in which they consecrate themselves to Adonai. They shall be holy, they shall let the locks of their hair on their head grow long, and throughout their term they must not come near to a dead body." So let's unpack this passage a bit. It's difficult to make a modern world comparison to a Nazirite, because it's such a strange voluntary choice. This passage does not explain why an Israelite would want to become a Nazirite, just that they are consecrated to God when they make the vow. However, our Tanakh records at least 2 famous lifelong Nazirites, Samuel and Samson. But in these passages from Numbers, the vow of a Nazirite seems temporary. So for whatever reason, a man or a woman, and I admit I'm excited to see an egalitarian ritual here. Anyways, a man or a woman must make this vow and abstain from some pretty fun stuff while they're under the vow's influence. Even though declining grape juice and wine may seem easy, you have to understand that in our tradition, anything grape-related is synonymous with joy. So a Nazirite must abstain from joyful activities. Furthermore, they must refrain from cutting their hair, and they must not come near dead bodies. And we learn later in this portion that they must abstain from attending funerals, even if it is a family member. As long as they are doing all of this, they are apparently consecrated to Adonai. Now, with this in mind, it's interesting to watch our rabbinic ancestors squirm at the possibility of a person choosing not to have a good time. In fact, so disheartened are they by the whole avoid the wine thing that they find a way to spin the vow of the Nazirite into a bad thing. In our Talmud, they claim that anyone who voluntarily fasts, i.e. fasts on a non-fast day, is a sinner. So Rabbi Eliezer HaKapar the Great concludes that a Nazirite is also sinning because they are fasting from wine when they don't have to do so. And our friend Maimonides helps clarify this issue. He says that removing oneself from the world by doing something to the extreme is the sin. The problem, claims Maimonides, is an issue of precedence. If a person who goes as far as to deny themselves the joy of life and still needs to atone for the sins on Yom Kippur, then how much further will everyone else need to go in order to atone as well? It is an unachievable precedent. And Maimonides concludes his argument with a quote from Ecclesiastes which says, "Do not be overly righteous or over wise. Why should you destroy yourself?" Ironically, becoming a Nazirite might have been an intoxicating endeavor for many Israelites. The priests were a part of a caste system, and any Israelite born outside of the priestly families could not achieve the same consecration to Adonai as the priest. The singular exception, available both to men and women, was the vow of the Nazirite. By abstaining from joy, a regular old Israelite could achieve priest-like status. Imagine how appealing this would be for Israelites. Imagine how appealing this would be for anyone Jewish. And our rabbinic ancestors recognized the danger of this possibility. Judaism is not a religion of self-denial. Judaism does not venerate asceticism. Judaism is a religion of joy and seeks to find that joy through meaningful community experiences. For our ancient rabbis, the vow of the Nazirite is an anathema of Judaism. And thanks to their recognition of this potential problem, they steered Judaism into a direction that denied self-denial. However, just to make things more interesting, I want to point out that at times rabbis also praise the Nazirite vow because anything that grows one closer to God is a praiseworthy endeavor. And to deal with this conundrum, I'm going to conclude my sermon with a quote from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory. And he said, "Moral life is not always simple, a matter of black and white, good and evil, right and wrong. It usually is, but not always. Viewed from the perspective of personal perfection, the Nazirite is good and holy. But from the perspective of Jewish faith as a whole, such a life is not ideal. Judaism wants to celebrate life, not retreat from it. It is holy to retreat from the world and its challenges, but holier still to engage with them."